tensions remain high in Kenya, where protests against a proposed Ebola quarantine center for U.S. citizens have turned deadly. Reports indicate that a demonstrator was shot during clashes with police. While concerns continue to grow over transparency, public health risks, and the government's handling of the project, let's bring in our correspondent in Kenya, Daniel Orminde, to help us understand the situation on the ground. Daniel, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time and welcome.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for having me.
I mean, as we try and get a better sense of what's happening on the ground, what can you tell us about the shooting that reportedly killed a demonstrator today? And with that, what have authorities had to say about the death?
So today, hundreds of protesters gathered in the streets of Nanyuki, that is in the central parts of the country, to demonstrate that proposed setting up of an Ebola quarantine facility. And during the protest, there was running battles between police and members of the public who were demonstrating. And eyewitnesses said one person was shot dead. They saw his body being carried away in a police Land Cruiser. Today's death brings the total deaths that are attributed to this protest to three. The first protests were had on the 1st of June 2026 this year, when the plans around this Ebola quarantine facilities was first broken by American news media regarding coming from disclosures in the US, and then the news got into here. The president, of course, has accepted that yes, there was a deal between Kenya and the US to set up that Ebola quarantine facility. And today also, apart from the one person who died, we also had a case of 50 other people who were arrested who were part of the protesters. Earlier on, the High Court in Kenya had also issued orders barring the government from continuing with that construction of the quarantine facility, which is happening inside a military base in that town of Nanyuki in central Kenya.
Mm. And, you know, as you make mention of what essentially has escalated on the ground, one of the biggest concerns appears to be a concern around transparency. What information are Kenyans saying they have not received from government regarding this facility?
So what's happening is this: the president is framing, or the government is framing, the setting up of these facilities as a part of a larger health agreement between the Kenyan government and the US, which was agreed to last year in 2025 during President William Ruto's state visit to the US. Now, the details of that particular agreement, which is a premise for these attempts to set up that Ebola quarantine facility in Nanyuki, has not been made public, and that's one of the reasons why one of the areas where Kenyans are asking for more transparency in terms of what that agreement entails. Further to that, there are questions regarding why this facility is being set up in Kenya, some more than 780 kilometers from the epicenter of this particular epidemic or this particular outbreak. The questions they're asking is, isn't it better if that facility is set up in DRC, probably somewhere in Kinshasa or in another part of the country that's not affected by the Ebola virus? So the question is, why bring it? The question they're asking is, why is this being brought into the country? Kenya has never had any case of Ebola before, and they're really not understanding why a country that has not been exposed to Ebola before is being exposed to the virus this way.
Yeah, more questions than answers. It's a developing story that we continue to monitor. Thank you very, very much, Daniel Orminde, our correspondent in Kenya, helping us understand the crux around the tensions in Kenya when it comes to Ebola. One person has died and 50 others have been arrested.